So, is dropshipping a scam and a bad business model, or is it a great opportunity to start your first e-commerce journey? That's what we're going to be discussing in this video. Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Camille, known as the ECOM King, and in today's video, I'm going to be covering, is dropshipping a scam? Is it a bad business model? Should you avoid it? And what are my thoughts on this subject, as I've been seeing a lot of people recently come out and say dropshipping is a bad business model, dropshipping is a scam. Now, this has been going around for years and years and years, but recently it's become very popular again. So I thought, why not make a video and give you guys my thoughts and opinion on this topic? And this is really important for you guys to watch, especially if you're thinking about starting a dropshipping business now or in 2023. And the reason why this video is extremely important to watch is because you need to understand what this business model is and educate yourself. Because I believe a lot of people are coming out with dropshipping is a scam, dropshipping is a bad business model, because they're not educated and understand how this business model truly works. And what I'm going to be doing as well is I'm going to be addressing all of the main issues people have with dropshipping. For example, the products are made in China, the customer service is bad, the shipping times are bad. I'm going to be addressing all the main issues people have with this business model. And the reason why I feel like I'm a great person to be covering this subject is because I've been doing dropshipping now for over 5 years. I've got multiple dropshipping stores. I've got multiple e-commerce brands. So I feel like I've got some really good knowledge and experience in this field. So before we actually get into the video today, guys, don't feel shy. If you've got any of your own thoughts and opinions, make sure you leave them in the comment section, but only do that once you've watched the full video, because I don't want you watching this video, only watching half of it and then jump into a conclusion. Watch the full video, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And if you could also smash the like button, that would be highly appreciated. So let's get straight to the point. Is dropshipping a scam? Now, in my opinion, I do believe dropshipping isn't a scam and it isn't a bad business model. But what I will say and what I will agree with is there are a lot of bad people that come into this business model and treat it in a really bad way. Now, what you guys need to understand is dropshipping is no more than just a fulfillment method of having an online business or even having a traditional business. Now, it all comes down to how each person conducts their business whilst using the dropshipping fulfillment method. Now, not everyone's going to have integrity. Not everyone's going to do all the things they should do before starting a dropshipping business. And I'm going to be covering what all of those things are in the next few moments. Now, let me give you guys a few examples and let me really dig deep into what I'm trying to say. So when people use dropshipping as a fulfillment method, some people are going to come into this business model and say, look, I'm going to take full advantage of it. I'm going to be really bad about it. I'm going to come into this business models with the intention of not looking after my customers. So what they do is they take the slowest shipping times. They don't look at the product quality. Sometimes I've heard dropshippers don't even send the products out. So there's people that just send envelopes instead of products, because that way it gets tracked. They still receive the money, but they're not sending the physical product. So there are bad actors that come into this business model and do those bad practices. But you can say the same thing about any other business out there. They can always be bad actors. So for example, the banking industry, there's always people that start banks, use customers' money, leverage it, and then lose it, and then go bankrupt. People lose their money. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty stuff, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is dropshipping as a fulfillment method isn't the only industry where people and bad actors can come in it and then make it a bad thing for the consumer. There's so many industries out there that you can apply this same method to. So if you hear people online saying dropshipping is a bad business model because everyone that does dropshipping does it with no integrity, they don't care about the consumer, you're literally treating everyone the same way. And there are people out there that actually do dropshipping in a very positive way. And how you can tell if somebody's doing dropshipping in a very positive way is if their LTV is good and if their CLV is good. That stands for lifetime value and customer lifetime value. So do the customers keep coming back to their dropshipping store time and time again? If the answer is no, there's a concern. If they have lots of chargebacks, if they have lots of refunds, that is a big concern. But if they are running a dropshipping store where they're getting lots of returning customers, happy customers, not many chargebacks, then there's no issue with that dropshipping store because that consumer is happy. Now, dropshipping has been around before the internet was even around. Now, let me elaborate on that. Now, remember, dropshipping is just a fulfillment method. Now, I have uncles that used to do markets where you have a market, people come to the market, they buy stuff from your markets. Now, when he had this market, people would come to him and say, look, do you have X, Y, and Z in stock? He would say no. And he would say, don't worry though, because I can source that product for you. It's not not an issue. And then what he would do is he'd go to his mate, he'd give them a phone call through the landline and say, can you send that product to my customer directly to their house, and let them know that it was me that actually helped them do that. So that is another example of drop shipping. So drop shipping has been around for a very, very long time. It's just adapted through the internet, online businesses, but it has been around for a very, very long time. And some of the biggest businesses in the world and some of the biggest brands in the world use the drop shipping fulfillment method and use drop shipping. And I'll show you guys some examples in the next few moments. I also want to say that there's different levels of drop shipping. You've got the really low entry level, and then you've got the expert level, and that depends on how you're fulfilling the product. So the entry level is where you buy one product at a time based on if you get orders, and then you've got times where you buy the product in bulk, send it to a fulfillment center, then that's getting fulfilled from the fulfillment center. So it's really important for you guys that are watching this to understand that there's different levels of drop shipping, because if you're just basing your thoughts on the entry level, then that's not a fair judgment. Let's dive into the first problem people have got with drop shipping, which is products are made in China, they're bad quality, who would buy them? So if you're watching this video off an Apple device like a MacBook, an iMac, an iPhone, guess what? Your Apple device was made in China. A lot of the things in the world are made in China. A lot of the stuff in my apartment is made in China. A lot of the stuff in your house, your apartment, your workspace is made in China. Now, why is a lot of things made in China? We have to understand the economic reason for things being made in China. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm just going to explain the reason why. The reason why is because it's cheap to manufacture things in China. And the reason why is because China devalue their currency to make labor very cheap, so people make products in China. But if I go back to that Apple example I was giving you, the product was designed in America, California, but it was manufactured in China. Now, this is extremely important to understand, because when we talk about the 3 stages of a product, the first stage is the design part. So you're literally getting a pen and paper and designing a product, or you're doing it on a CAD website or something where you can design some form of product, whether it be a fashion item or whether it be a physical product. And the reason why the design aspect is important is because if you're designing a really poorly done product, then it's going to have flaws and consumers are not going to be happy. So the design aspect is extremely important. And because Apple are doing that in California with some really good design people, there's no problems. Then you've got the manufacturing part of the product. Where is the product being made? And the other thing you have to understand is when products are being manufactured in China, are they being made out of the good materials, or are they getting made out of cheap materials that are not going to be good long term? Then you've also got the quality check part of this, where after the product's made and it's coming off the end of the conveyor belt, who's checking to see if it meets the standards of the warehouse or the company? Now, because dropshippers don't see those 3 different stages, which is the design, manufacturing, and then quality checking, people just assume straight away that the products are going to be really poorly done. And that's why it's extremely important as a dropshipper that you make sure you test the product out before actually selling it. So get it delivered to your house, you do the quality checks yourself, you see if the design is good. You'll know if the design is good if the product actually works. And you don't need to look at the way the product was designed to know if it's a good product, because when you stress test it, the design mechanism will show you if it's a good product. And that's why it's extremely important to make sure you do your due diligence before working with a dropshipping supplier, to ask them where the products are being manufactured, what are the actual quality checks that are being involved in. So when you scale a dropshipping store and you start to use agents, that's what you're paying them to do, to check out the manufacturing warehouse, to see how the product was designed, to make sure quality checks being done. So these are things that you're doing when you start working with agents, which is more of a pro thing to do as a dropshipper. So when I was talking to you guys before about entry levels, when you start working with an agent, it's more medium term in terms of your entry level. But when you first start a dropshipping store, remember, you're at the bottom of the entry level, most people are, so they won't be able to have agents to see if the products are good. So that's what's your responsibility, to make sure you ask them the questions, ask for videos and things like that, to make sure you know it's being done properly. People that conduct their business are going to do it totally different. So you're going to get some dropshippers that don't even test their product out, don't even order a sample, they just sell whatever's going to make money. Now, if you're making sure you do these tests before you sell the product, then you're not doing what these other bad actors are doing. And to assume that anything that's made in China is really bad and you shouldn't sell it is quite disturbing to think of, because it doesn't matter where something's being made as long as the quality checks are being done. Now, some of the biggest companies in the world make their products in China. A lot of companies sell products from Alibaba, AliExpress, and I'll even put proof on the screen, because I'm based in the UK, and when I go to lots of different shops in the UK, I can straight away tell that what they're selling is from China or AliExpress or Alibaba or whatever, DHK, any of those Chinese suppliers. I literally went into one of the biggest stores in the UK and I saw products from AliExpress in that shop. So to think that all these brands are selling the same Chinese products, but they've got it in stock, just shows you that it doesn't matter where the product's made as long as you're doing your quality checks and as long as you're working with agents long term to make sure the products are being made correctly. Now let's cover probably the most heated one out of them all, which is the shipping times are really bad with dropshipping, and that's why it's a bad business model. Now, dropshipping has come a long way since I started in my first journey in 2017. It used to take up to 2 months to actually get customers to receive the product. It's dramatically reduced now to around about 2 to 3 weeks, which again isn't perfect, but it's getting a lot better. Now, if we think back to that entry model that I was talking to you guys about originally, when you become a beginner in dropshipping, you're going to be doing something called one product dropshipping, where you're only ordering the product once somebody places an order on your website to reduce full risk. Now, when you use that model, you're going to have to use suppliers like AliExpress, CJ Dropshipping, Wio, all of these well-known dropshipping suppliers. Now, these guys can sometimes get the products out there in 7 days, 14 days, sometimes 10 days. It depends which shipping line that you go for, but as long as you're willing to pay a little bit more, you can get the product a lot quicker, especially if you use some of these better suppliers like Spocket. You can sometimes get them within days. Now, let's say hypothetically that it can take 17 to 21 days, more like 17 to 15 days as a beginner. That is still not perfect, but remember, you're only going to be using these slow shipping times for the first 2 to 4 weeks of you starting your drop shipping store. And the reason why is because you want to reduce the risk. Now, as soon as you start to see consistent sales for 2 to 4 weeks, then you're going to want to start to order the product in bulk, send it to fulfillment centers, and then that reduces the shipping time right down to 5 to 7 days. And I do believe that 5 to 7 days shipping time is completely fine, and there's lots of businesses out there that have the same shipping times that are huge companies. The only other one that doesn't have that is things like Amazon. Now, that brings me on to the next talking point, which is, well, what's the point of doing dropshipping on your own website like Shopify, WordPress, or WooCommerce when you can just do it through Amazon FBA? Now, Amazon FBA is fulfilled by Amazon. Now, most of the products on Amazon are made in China. So that goes back to the other point. Most of the stuff on Amazon is from China. The only difference with Amazon and you doing it privately as a beginner is Amazon FBA owners, what they do is they buy the product in bulk, send it to Amazon, and then they fulfill the product. And sometimes the shipping times can be next day, and sometimes it can be even 2 weeks. Now, look, I've just ordered something from my car from Amazon, and it's going to take 3.5 weeks to get here because it was a drop shipping seller. If we compare Amazon FBA sellers to beginner drop shippers on private websites like Shopify, of course, Amazon FBA sellers are going to have faster shipping times because they've took the risk to buy the product in bulk and to send it through Amazon FBA. Now, if we think logically, guys, the only difference is the shipping time. The product was made in the same place. The customer service might be handled by Amazon, but even as an FBA seller, you talk directly to the seller unless you open a dispute. So even the same customer service can be very like for like. Now, the other thing is when you've got your own private dropshipping store on Shopify or WooCommerce, you're running paid ads and you're doing something called disruptive marketing, where let's say I open up my Facebook homepage, Instagram homepage, or my TikTok homepage, you're going to see an ad on your phone without you asking for it. And that's how private dropshipping on Shopify works. Instead of you using Amazon's traffic to redirect to your product page, you're using explosive marketing to get people to find you as a business. And most people don't even know that these products exist. A lot of these dropshipping products, people don't even know they exist. So when you educate them that they exist through an ad, that's why they're going to buy from you instead of an Amazon seller. And if you've created a really nice looking website, a really good customer service, you've hired VAs to do customer service, you've made your website look nice and branded, you've got free ebooks with every purchase, people are going to go to you instead of Amazon because you're giving them free things like a free ebook, maybe even a free extra product on top of their original product. So this is why you can't compare the two businesses, because it doesn't matter. And if this was really the case where Amazon's always going to win, then why are we still making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month with our dropshipping stores on Shopify? Now, let's go back to the shipping times again, because this is really important. So the only time shipping times are going to be a problem is for your first 2 to 4 weeks as a dropshipper. And when you test products out, you want to make sure that you're not taking on too much risk, like ordering the product in bulk, because if it doesn't work out, then you've just spent thousands of dollars on buying the product in bulk and losing out. And most people that are watching this video come from humble beginnings, meaning that their mom and dad don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Their mom and dads are not millionaires. They haven't got savings accounts that have got $50,000 to just do what they want with. Most people are very humble like myself, where we are trying to reduce the risk as much as possible because we don't have the money to waste. And because we don't have the money to waste doesn't mean that we create a Shopify dropshipping store with really bad customer support. So let's say, for example, when I test a product, I might use Spocket. Delivery time might be between 5 and 10 days. If the customer is worried about where the product is, I will send them emails all the time letting them know, look, the product is on its way, just please be patient. And even if they don't ask for updates, I'm still going to give them updates and let them know that everything's fine, the product is going to get to them, it's just going to take a little bit longer. And only the first batch of customers are going to have that experience if the product is successful, because after the 2 weeks of it being successful, then I'm going to start working with an agent that I buy in bulk with, they do quality checks with, they get it sent to a fulfillment center, then my shipping times are realistic and it's 5 to 7 days, sometimes even 3 to 7 days with certain shipping lines. And like I said to you guys before, 3 to 7 days, even 5 to 7 days is a realistic delivery time for any product online. The only one exception is Amazon Prime, and that is extremely hard to compete with. We can compete with them on marketing when it comes to direct marketing on their mobile devices, when they go on TikTok, Facebook, and so forth. You don't see many Amazon sellers using advertisements to attract customers, and that's where we win. Because a lot of people are going to tell you guys, don't do drop shipping, use a 3PL. Now, what's a 3PL? A 3PL is a third-party logistics, so it's like using an agent to start with. So let's say you find a product that you want to sell from China or wherever it's from. You're going to order that product in bulk. You're going to send it to a fulfillment center near the country that you're going to be selling it to, and you're going to have to pay that fulfillment center storage space or a monthly retainer, and then all of that's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Let's say hypothetically $2,000 to $4,000 each time you test a product. So let's say I want to test 5 products. I start with a 3PL, which a lot of people are now recommending to start with. That means I could spend up to $10,000 to $15,000 on 5 products that I'm going to be testing. Now think to yourself logically, where does that make sense? As a beginner that comes from humble beginnings, it's really not logical. Even if I had loads of money, I wouldn't even do that because it's extremely risky. Now, just to emphasize on the risk level of using a 3PL to start with, I made a video a few weeks ago about how I've lost $1 million with e-commerce this year, and that's because I started brands from the get-go, I didn't test the product out, and so forth. And this is what caused me to lose tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And for me, it's okay because I've got money that I can throw away, but for most beginners, they haven't, and that's why they need to use the entry-level dropshipping method to get them through the door. And then as long as they know when to switch to an agent, they do. Now, the problem becomes when dropshippers do not switch to agents. If you're scaling a store and you're still using the entry-level way of doing dropshipping, that's when it becomes a problem, and that's down to the individual, not the fulfillment method. So you cannot blame dropshipping as a fulfillment method for that problem. You have to blame the individual for not taking the business to the next level and investing in an agent and a fulfillment center and doing minimum order quantities to get the shipping rates quicker, to get the product quality better, to get the quality checks better. That's down to the individual, not the business model. And this is where people go wrong when they look at dropshipping as a scam or a bad business model. They're looking at the business model instead of looking at the individual. That's the problem. And this brings me to my next point. Unfortunately, over the last 3-4 years of me doing YouTube about dropshipping e-commerce, there's been a lot of bad actors making videos teaching people to do unethical ways of dropshipping, some really bad ways of doing a business model, and this has caused a lot of problems. And that's why it's extremely important for other YouTubers that may be watching this, or anyone that's thinking about starting a YouTube channel, is we need to teach people the better way of doing dropshipping, not the unethical black hat ways of doing dropshipping, the white hat ways, the ethical ways. So test on the entry level. As soon as you're seeing success, move as quickly as you can to an agent. Make sure you've got really good customer service. These are the things that we must be teaching so people don't use the horrible ways of doing this business model. So whoever you guys want to learn from when it comes to learning dropshipping or e-commerce, you want to see, have they got their own e-commerce stores? Do they have their own dropshipping stores? Do they have good CLV and LTV? Because if they don't, then they're running really bad, poorly done dropshipping stores. I'll put a few screenshots on the screen of mine. You can see that my CLV and my LTV is very, very good. And that's because people love my dropshipping stores. And again, some of these stores are done on a high level, meaning that I've bought them in bulk, sent them to fulfillment centers, so they're getting the products really, really pretty fast. But the reason why people love these stores is because they're getting a great customer service, they're getting extra benefits, they're getting everything they want. And again, you're educating people about products that they didn't even know about, and that's why they appreciate it. Remember guys, we're trying to run businesses that make money. This is not a non-profit business. We're running businesses to try and make profit, but there needs to be an equal level of value. The customer gets a good customer support, they get a good product, but you also get a nice margin and you keep the customer happy. It has to be really equal when it comes to everyone's value. The problem that can happen in this industry is you get lots of bad actors that only think about their own stomach, their own pockets. They don't care about what happens to the consumer. They're only thinking about filling their pockets. And that's why it's important to make sure there's a fair value between you as the dropshipping business owner and the customer who's going to be receiving the product. Now, I want to give you guys some other examples of where dropshipping can really help with businesses, especially some of the ones that I run myself. So let's say you run a business where you're selling a product that comes with 5 different variants, whether it be color variants, whether it be size variants, whatever it is. Now, what a lot of companies will find is they'll have 2 to 3 variants that sells really, really well. They're their best sellers, but then the 2 other variants, people buy them now and again, and it's important to have them. People don't want to not have them because people need to serve a purpose. So what they'll do is those 2 variants that they don't sell as much of, they might do a pre-order model, a dropshipping way of doing it, instead of buying it in bulk. So a lot of fashion brands, and look, I've got fashion companies, so I know this, a lot of fashion brands, they'll order bulk for some of the items that they know will sell, but for the ones that they're not sure about, a lot of the times it's on a pre-order. So although they've designed the product, they've constructed it themselves, they've actually not got it from the supplier yet till they know that they've got orders coming through the door. And this is a real thing, guys. Companies do this all the time. Sometimes they'll say it's out of stock, or even sometimes when you buy the variant, it'll say it's in stock, but then they'll email you after saying, look, it's going to take us a few days to get the product to you because we need to do X, Y, and Z. That's because they're not stocking on a variant that they know is more riskier because they don't sell as much of it. So the key takeaway to this video is dropshipping is not a scam. It's not a bad business model. People just come into this business model with really bad intentions and ruin it for everyone else. And the most important thing is, if you're going to use this fulfillment method, you need to make sure that you're doing a best job as a business owner that you can to make sure that your consumer is happy. And you also need to think about the tier level that you're on. If you're coming into this business as an entry level, it doesn't matter if you're coming in on an entry level, you should still have some really good customer support. Even if you're coming at a high tier level, that shouldn't change. You should always withhold a good standing of customer support, quality checks, and so forth. So guys, that was it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I don't mind anyone having their own opinions on things, but if you're going to give your opinions, guys, please be respectful, please be kind, don't be rude to anyone else, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like the video. Peace out.